Yes, I'm back with another fantastic session. This is Santosh Sahu and you are watching Sahu's tutorial. As I was conducting 1000 MCQ series on English literature for the upcoming UGC NET exam. So this is the second part of that series. Earlier I have discussed 50 questions along with the explanation. I will share the link in the description box. Watch the video till the end because it is going to be a very informative session. I will cover many aspects of literature in these questions. So it is not about the MCQ, rather it is about the explanations. So it is going to be a very fruitful session. Stay tuned with my channel South Tutorial because in this channel I will also upload videos on paper 1. So stay tuned with my channel. So I don't want to waste your time. Let's begin the session with this wonderful questions. So here is the first question on your screen. Okay, let's begin with question number 51. By the remembered stream, my brother stands waiting for me with berries in his hands. These are my body, sister, take and eat. These are my body, sister, take and eat. This is very horrific line. What do these lines interpret? Impact of World War One, impact of World War Two, American Civil War, American War of Independence. So these lines were actually written by Catherine Mansfield. Catherine Mansfield, when her brother died. Hmm. And it interprets the impact of World War One. So option A is the right answer here. Let's look at this next slide. That Mansfield life and work were changed by the death of her younger brother Leslie Buchan, known as Chummy to his family. In October 1915, he was killed during a grenade training drill while serving with the British Expeditionary Force in Ypres salient, Belgium, aged 21, and she began to take refuge in nostalgic reminiscences of their childhood in New Zealand. In a poem describing a dream she had shortly after his death. So these lines appear in the poem of Catherine Mansfield. Okay, now move to the next question. Who is the author of James Bond, which is a series of novels and short stories? Is a literary franchise comprising a series of novels and short stories first published in 1953. So it was first published in 1953. Erwin Piscator, Irving Waddell, Antonin Artaud, and Ian Fleming. So James Bond was written by Ian Fleming. Okay, so option number D is the right answer here. Do you know that Erwin Piscator has coined the term that is epic theater. Epic theater. Epic theater was coined by Erwin Piscator, and Irving Waddell is related with that is a comedy of Maniac. Comedy of Maniac was first used by Irving Waddell. Okay, and Antonin Artaud, for the first time he has used theater of cruelty. Theater of cruelty. And Martin Esslin. Martin Esslin has coined that is the theater of absurd. Theater of absurd. So in this question we knew five things. That is James Bond was written by Ian Fleming. Aaron Piscator has coined the term epic theater. Irving Waddell has coined comedy of Maniac. Anton Artaud theater of cruelty, whereas Martin Esslin is related to theater of absurd theater. Okay, now move to question number 53. Now let's look at this slide here. That the character that is James Bond, that is the James Bond, appears for the first time in which novel of that series? Casino Royale. Casino Royale. Let's erase it. Okay, Casino, Casino, Casino Royale was the first novel where the character James Bond appeared in his 1953 novel Casino Royale. The books were set in a contemporary period during Ian Fleming's lifetime from 1951 to 1964. So Casino Royale was the book where the character James Bond for the first time appears. Move to question number 53. James Bond is a British Secret Service agent. Is a Secret Service agent often referred to by his code name. So James Bond had a code name. What was that? So 007, 008, 009, 006. James Bond had the code name that was what? 007. So 007 was the code name of James Bond by Ian Fleming, who had a same sex relationship with Mata Mahupuku, sometimes known as Martha Grace, Virginia Woolf, Catherine Mansfield, Sylvia Plath, Anne Sexton. So who had a same-sex relationship with Mata Mahupuku, and she was the inspiration for her writing also. She acts as a kind of muse for her, Mata Mahupuku. So it was Catherine Mansfield. Catherine Mansfield had a same-sex relationship with Mata Mahupuku, sometimes known as Martha Grace, who was a kind of inspiration for her writing. She acts as a kind of muse for Catherine Mansfield. And the last two writers, that is here Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton, they were confessional poets, American confessional poets. American confessional poets, Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton. Move to question number 55. The character Good Run in D.S. Lawrence's novel, that is Women in Love, is based on which writer? So D.S. Lawrence has created a character Good Run in his novel, that is Women in Love, and on which character this character is based on? Okay, Virginia Woolf, Catherine Mansfield, Elizabeth Gaskell, Sylvia Plath. So Good Run is based on Catherine Mansfield. So option number B is the right option here. So option number Catherine Mansfield is the right answer here. So Good Run is based on Catherine Mansfield, whereas Catherine Mansfield's husband, that is John Middleton Murray, J.M. Murray, was the character that is Gerald Creech, Crich Creech, of that novel, that is Women in Love, is based on John Middleton Murray. The character Gerald Creech is based on the husband of Catherine Mansfield, that is John Middleton Murray. Okay, here it is given that Ursula's character, there were two sisters, that is Ursula and Gudrun. Ursula and Gudrun. Two sisters. Ursula's characters draws on Lawrence's wife Frida, whereas Gudrun on Catherine Mansfield, while Rupert Birkins has elements of Lawrence himself, and Gerald Creech is partly based on Mansfield's husband John Middleton Murray. So, Women in Love is about Ursula and Gudrun's. Okay, now move to question number 56. Which of the following begins with these words? It is good morning to the day and next. My gold, open thy shrine that I may see my saint. So it is talking about the money that he has gathered. The poetaster, Cynthia's rebels, Volpone, alchemists. So this is the opening line of Volpone, Ben Jonson. So Volpone in Italian means sly fox, and he has a parasite, that is Mosca. He has a parasite character, that is Mosca is a parasite in this drama, and Voltor, the character Voltor, that is Voltor is vulture in Italian, vulture. So, okay, move to question number 57. The theatres were reopened in 1660. When were they closed last? It is 1642. It is 1642 that theatres were closed last. 58. Who coined the term graphic novel? The graphic novel was coined by whom? D.S. Lawrence, William James, Henry James, Richard Kyle. So who coined the graphic novel? That is Richard Kyle was the person who coined the term graphic novel. Richard Kyle. Question number 59. Look at here. Oh, okay. Look at here. That is fan historian Richard Kyle coined the term graphic novel. The term gained popularity in the comics community after the publications of Will Eisner's A Contract with God. Will Eisner's A Contract with God is also a graphic novel, and Art Spiegelman's Moss 1986 and the collected editions of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns 1986 and Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' Watchmen is also a graphic novel. So we got four novels, that is A Contract with God, Moss, The Dark Knight Returns, and Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, they collaborated and they wrote Watchmen. These are four graphic novels. Now look at these questions. Who is the author of the graphic novel A Contract with God? A Contract with God and Other Tenement Stories. A Contract with God was written by Frank Miller, Alan Moore, Dave Gibbons, Will Eisner. So A Contract with God and Other Tenement Stories was written by the novelist, that is the graphic novelist, that is Will Eisner. Will Eisner has written the novel, that is A Contract with God and Other Tenement Stories. Move to question number 60. Who is the author of the novel Owls Do Cry? The famous novel Owls Do Cry. Catherine Mansfield, Janet Frame, Moiras Grey, Patricia Grace. So Owls Do Cry was written by Janet Frame, whereas Catherine Mansfield has written a novel, that is the Alloy, ALOE, Alloy, and Moira's Key has written the Plum Trilogy, LUMB, Plum Trilogy. Okay, so and Janet Frame has written Owls Do Cry. So Catherine Mansfield, Janet Frame, Moira's Grey, and Patricia Gray, these are all New Zealand writers. Writers from New Zealand. Okay, move to question number 61. What is the name of Eppie's mother? Eppie's mother in George Eliot's third novel Silas Marner. साइलस मर्नर में इपीस का मदर कौन था? प्रिंसिया, कैथरीन, डॉली, मॉली. So Eppie's mother was Molly. Molly was Eppie's mother, and it is the third novel written by George Eliot, and it has a subtitle, that is The Weaver of Rabelais. The Silas Marner, The Weaver of Rabelais, is the third novel written by George Eliot. It was published in the year 1861. It is an outwardly simple tale of lenient Weaver. The novel is notable for its strong realism and its sophisticated treatment of variety of issues ranging from religion to industrialization to community. So साइलेंस मर्नर का जो क्या है, जो इसका सबटाइटल है, that is The Weaver of Rabelais. Okay, now move to question number 62. Frailty, Thy Name is Women. Frailty, Thy Name is Women are from which famous Shakespearean play? From which Shakespearean play? Hamlet, Tempest, As You Like It, King Lear. So Frailty, Thy Name is Women appears in the tragedy Hamlet. So A is the right answer here. 63. The quotation that which we call a rose, that which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Hamlet, Othello, Romeo and Juliet, Tempest. In which Shakespearean play these lines appear? So it was Romeo and Juliet where these famous lines appear. Move to question number 64. Which of the following is written by Charles Darwin? The Voyage of the Beagle, On the Origin of Species, The Descent of Man, all these three. So these were all written by Charles Darwin, that is The Voyage of the Beagle, On the Origin of Species, that is published in 1859, on the Descent of Man, all these were written by Charles Darwin. Move to question number 65. Matthew Arnold mourns the untimely death of whom? The untimely death of whom in his poem, that is Tiresias, which is an elegy. Options are Arthur Hugh Clough, Arthur Hallam, Mr. W.H., none of these. So here the right option is Arthur Hugh Clough. So Arnold mourns the untimely death of his friend Arthur Hugh Clough in his poem Tiresias, which is an elegy. So 65 का ये राइट आंसर है. poetry is a criticism of life. It must answer the questions as how to live. Who is the exponent of this view? John Ruskin, R.L. Stevenson, Robert Louis Stevenson, Matthew Arnold. So here it is very easy that Matthew Arnold is the right answer. Matthew Arnold told that poetry is a criticism of life. So option C is the right answer here. And John Ruskin is famous for his modern painters. Sorry, modern painters. Then seven lamps of architecture. Seven lamp of architecture, and unto the last. So he's famous for all these words: modern painters, seven lamps of architecture, unto the last. Move to question number 67. Matthew Pryor's story of the country mouse is a parody. Is a parody of Dryden's The Hind and the Panther, Aurangzeb, All for Love, The Way of the World. So Matthew Pryor has written a parody on Dryden's Hind and the Panther. The Hind and the Panther is the right answer. The Hind and the Panther is the right answer. Dryden wrote The Hind and the Panther, and then Matthew Pryor wrote a parody. That is parody on his Hind and the Panther, and the name of the parody was Story of the Country Mouse. It was written by Matthew Pryor. Okay, move to question number 68. Shelley's The Defense of Poetry was written in response to. Shelley wrote a defense of poetry, and it was written in response to whom? The Four Ages of Poetry, the English Comic Writers, An Apology for Poetry, or none of these. The Four Ages of Poetry was written by Thomas Love Peacock. The English Comic Writers was written by William Hazlitt. An Apology for Poetry of Sydney. So Shelley's Defense of Poetry was written in response to Four Ages of Poetry by Thomas Love Peacock, where he gave the four ages of poetry. First was iron, then gold, iron, then gold, and the last one was brass. Before that it was silver. Yeah, poetry like the world may be said of four ages. Like the world may be said to have four ages, but in a different order. The first age of poetry being the age of iron, and the second was gold, the third was silver, whereas the last one is brass. So iron comes first, then comes the gold, then silver, then brass. So four ages of poetry written by Thomas Love Peacock. And so now move to question number 69. Arnold wrote, with him is born a real poetry. With him is born a real poetry. Who does him refer to? Spenser, Shakespeare, Chaucer, Wordsworth. So it was Chaucer. With Chaucer is born our real poetry. Who said this? Matthew Arnold. Next question number 70. In which book did Friedrich Nietzsche's famous phrase, that is God is dead, appears? God is dead. The Modern Tragedy, The Myth of Sisyphus, Thus Spake Zarathustra, none of these. So it was in the Thus Spake Zarathustra. So 70 C, that is in the book Thus Spake Zarathustra, the phrase God is dead appears. So 70 का C right answer है. ठीक है, the Spake Zarathustra. Question number 71. The circulating libraries were popular during the 18th century, 17th century, 19th century, both A and C. Where it is circulating? Libraries, any books were circulated from one library to another library because they cannot afford money to buy books. That's why circulating libraries were established. So it was popular during 18th century and 19th century. 18th and 19th century. That's why the D, option D is the right answer. Both A and C, circulating libraries were popular during 18th century and 19th century. Move to question number 72. Orwell's 1984. This is a dystopian fiction, dystopian and political novel. 1984. It was appeared in 1984, 1948, 1949, 1947. So 1984 appeared in the year 1940. I mean, it is a dystopian. It's a dystopian novel, political novel, where the character Big Brother appears. Big Brother, and the phrase like thought police, double thought police appear. It's created there, popularized there. Okay, big thought police, 2 + 2 = 5. These are the phrase that were popularized in that novel. Let's look here. That 1984 also published in 1984 is a dystopian social science fiction and a cautionary tale by the English writer George Orwell. It was published on 8 June 1949 by Saker and Warburg. as Orwell's ninth and final book completed in his lifetime. Thematically, it centers on the consequences of totalitarianism, mass surveillances, repressive regimentation of people and behaviors within the society. Orwell, a democratic socialist, modeled the authoritarian state in the novel of Stalinist Russia and Nazi Germany. Move to the next slide here. The story takes place in an imagined future in the year 1984, where we'll see that there is a perpetual war. The world is engaged in perpetual war, and Great Britain, now known as Airstrip One, has become a Great Britain has now known as Airstrip One has become a province of the totalitarians first state Oceania, which is led by the character Big Brother, who is a dictatorial leader and supported by an intense cult of personality manufactured by the party's thought police. Thought police, thought crime, Big Brother, these are the terms popularized in that novel. So the protagonist is the Winston Smith who hates all these, okay, who wants to rebel. The protagonist is Winston Smith of that novel 1949 and 1984 is a diligent mid-level worker at the Ministry of Truth who secretly hates the party and who dreams of rebellion. So Winston Smith is the protagonist of the novel 1984, published in 1949. And 1984 has become a classic literary example of political and dystopian fiction. It also popularized the term Orwellian as an adjective with many terms used in novel entering common usage including Big Brother. So the term popular Big Brother, double think, thought police, thought crime and news fake 2 plus 2 equals to 5. These are the things, these are the common terms were being used in that novel. Move to question number 73. The phrase stream of consciousness. The phrase stream of consciousness was used by in his Principles of Psychology. Who used this? Okay, Sigmund Freud, William James, Carl Jung, James Joyce. So the stream of consciousness was for the first time in his Principle of Psychology. This is a book by William James. So who coined the term stream of consciousness for the first time? It was William James. So 73 का B right answer है. Okay, move to question number 74. Name the novel that ends with these lines. Unbroken tranquility had been accorded in the adult stage was she whose youth had seemed to teach that happiness was but the occasional episode in a general drama of pain. In a general drama of pain. Mayor of Castlebridge, Jude the Obscure, Desperate Remedies, Far from the Madding Crowd. Which one of these has the ending line? So the right option here, that is the Mayor of Castlebridge is the right option. The Mayor of Castlebridge is the right answer. Move to question number 75. Whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life. Whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life or whether that station will be held by anybody else. Which pages must show? Whether that station will be held by anybody else, the pages of the novel will must show. Which of the following novel begins with these lines? David Copperfield, A Tale of Two Cities, Hard Times, none of these. So the novel David Copperfield begins with this autobiographical novel begins with this line, whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life. So move to question number 76. The poetry collection Under belongs to which of the Indian poets? Bikram Seth, Adil Jaswala, Keki and Darubala, Jayant Mahapatra. So Under is related to Keki and Darubala. So option C is the right answer. Option C is the right answer. Keki and Darubala. Move to the next question. Okay, look at here. Under K.K. Darwala's first book of poems immediately won critical acclaim. Darwala's poetry finds its own form in a fine blend of freedom and discipline, metrical rhythms, and the world order of the prose, compact, harsh, alliterative phrasing, and relaxed movement. So K.K. Darwala. The Mulkrux Anand, Untouchable, that is published in the year 1935. Is said in which of the following North Indian towns? In which of the following North Indian towns? Bulsa, Kantapura, Tahat, and Nambudiri. So here, Bulsa, this is the right answer here. Mulkas Anand's Untouchable appears said in the following North Indian towns, that is Bulsa. That was appeared in the 1935. It is the story of Vakha. Story of Vakha. Untouchable is a novel by Anand published 1935. The book was inspired by his aunt's experience when she had a meal with a Muslim woman and was treated as an outcast by her family. The plot of this book revolves around the argument for eradicating the caste system. So eradicating the caste system. Said in the North Indian cantonment town, that is Bulsaha, untouchable is a day in the life of a young Indian sweeper named Vakha, and which is the son of Lakha. And hate, oh, it is hanging. Let's wait. Yeah, the son of Laka, head of all of Bulsa's sweepers. Baka is intelligent but naive, humble yet vain. Over Baka's days, various major and minor tragedy occurs, causing him to mature and turn his gaze inward. By the end of the novel, Mulkas Anand, the author, has made a compelling case for the end of the untouchability because it is an inhuman, unjust system of oppression. Move to question number 78. Arun Karatkar's Jejuri, the famous, consists of how many poetic sequences? 20, 31, 11, 24. So Arun Karatkar's poem, that is Jejuri, consists of how many poetic sequence? It has 31 poetic sequence. So option number B is the right answer. Jejuri has 31 sequence. Question number, okay, look at here. Yeah, Jejuri is a series of poems written by Indian poet Arun Kolatkar consisting of 31 poetic sequences. Jejuri depicts Kolatkar's visit to Jejuri, a city in Pune. So his visits to Jejuri, which is a city in Pune, which the poet visited in 1964. Jejuri won the Commonwealth Poetry Prize in 1977. The poem is made up of series of often short fragments which describe the experiences of a secular visitor to the ruins of Jejuri. Jejuri is a sequence of simple but stunningly beautiful poems and is one of the major work in modern Indian literature. The poems are remarkable for their haunting quality. So it has 31 poetic sequences. 79. Which of the following Chaucer's tale is in prose? The Pardon's tales, Cook's tales, the Parodies tales, Parson's tales. The last tale, that is Parson's tale, is in prose, and Tale of Melibas, that was written. The Tale of Melibas also in prose. Tale of Melibas was also in, that was told by Chaucer. Tale of Melibas, Chaucer. Okay, told by Chaucer. So Tale of Melibas is also in prose. Parson tales, the last tale of the Canterbury was also in prose. Move to question number 80. Who was the original English translator for of grammatology? Of grammatology was written by Derrida. Samuel Weber, who is the original English translator? Samuel Weber, Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak, Paul Riemann, Jean Luc Nancy. So here Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak is the was the original English translator for of grammatology. Move to question number 81. Who is the author of the short story The Prelude? Who wrote the short story The Prelude? C.K. Stead, Catherine Mansfield, H.E. Bates, James Joyce. So here the New Zealand writer, the Catherine Mansfield, has written the short story The Prelude. Move to question number 82. Who wrote the biographical novel Mansfield a Novel? Mansfield, who wrote the biographical novel Mansfield a Novel, focuses in part on Mansfield's efforts during the years 1915 to 1918 to write the alloy. So who wrote? He has also written the novel. That is, she has also written the novel The Alloy. That is Catherine Mansfield. So who is the author who wrote the biographical novel Mansfield a Novel? C.K. Stead, Janet Frame, Keith Sinclair, Moyes Gee. So here C.K. Stead is the right answer. She has written the biographical novel Mansfield a Novel. Okay. Question number 83. 10 novels and their authors. 10 novels and their authors. The 1954 work of literary criticism by William Somerset Maugham, Walter Scott, D.S. Lawrence, Virginia Woolf. 10 novels and their authors, each a 1954 work of literary criticism. It was written by William Somerset Maugham. So option A is the right answer here. Okay, which is not a graphic novel? Watchmen, Contract with God, Moss, The Dark Knight Returns. Actually, these were all graphic novels. These were all graphic novel. These were all graphic novel. Watchmen, A Contract with God, Moss, The Dark Knight Returns. These are all graphic novel. All these were graphic novel. Who is the writer of the novel The Alloy? Who has written the novel Sick Street? Catherine Mansfield, H.E. Beats, James Joyce. So this is, I have already discussed that Catherine Mansfield has written the novel The Alloy. Catherine Mansfield. So B is the right answer here. Move to question number 86. The Castle of Crossed Destinies. The Castle of Crossed Destinies was written by whom? Italo Calvino, Mark Twain, Moyesgy, Carey Hume. So the Castle of Crossed Destinies was written by Italo Calvino. Italo Calvino. So A is the right answer here. And Carey Hume is the first New Zealand writer to win the Booker Prize. To win the Booker Prize. Carey Hume is the first for her novel, that is The Bone People. The Bone People. The Bone People. Carey Hume is the first the first New Zealand writer to win the Booker Prize for her novel The Bone People. Okay, and Moyesgy is famous for her Plum trilogy. Plum trilogy. Plum trilogy. PLUMB. Plum trilogy. Italo Calvino is the author of the Castle of Crossed Destinies. Move to question number. The Journal of Susanna Moodie. Journal of Susanna Moodie by Margaret Atwood is a Canadian writer. Is a collection of poems, essays, letters, short stories. The Journal of Susanna Moodie is a collection of poems. So 87 A is the right answer. Okay. Move to question number 88. Who disguised himself as Sir Rowland? Who disguised himself as Sir Rowland in The Way of the World? In The Way of the World. So the restoration comedy. So Mirabel, Mr. Fennel, Whitwell. So it was a Whitwell who disguised himself as Sir Rowland in The Way of the World. So D is the right answer here. 89. Krishna Rossetti's new poems was edited after her death. Krishna Rossetti's new poems was edited and published after her death by William Morris, D.J. Rossetti, William Makepeace Thackeray, or W.M. Rossetti. So it was W.M. Rossetti, William Morris Rossetti. So he published and he edited and published the new poems after the death of Krishna Rossetti. So D is the right answer here. W.M. Rossetti. So today's last question, that is question number 90. Rohinton Mistri's short story collection about the residents of a Parsi-dominated Parsi-dominated apartment complex is entitled as Family Matters, Tales from Firozabad, Fine Barons. So and such a long journey. So short story collection is Tales from Firozabad. Tales from Firozabad. B is the right answer. And the other three, that is other three, Family Matters, Fine Balance, and such long journey, these are novels written by Rohinton Mistry, whereas Tales from Firozabad is a short story collection and it is about the residents of the Parsi dominated apartment complex. So thank you once again for watching my video. Stay tuned with SAHOO tutorial. More interesting videos are coming soon, and do not forget to subscribe my channel and tap the bell icon to get more notification that I will upload in future. Thank you once again for watching the video.